My name is Charlotte Ashford. I'm 32 years old, and last Christmas, my parents booked a $45,000 family vacation for everyone except me. Instead of a plane ticket to Aspen, my mother left me a note on the kitchen counter. Water the plants, feed the dog, pick up our dry cleaning. I found that note next to the receipt. 4 ski passes, a 5-star suite, spa treatments, private lessons for my brother, $45,000 for a trip I wasn't invited to. That was the moment I stopped being their unpaid servant. I stopped watering, I stopped cleaning, and I started planning. 3 weeks later, at their New Year's brunch, 40 guests, champagne flowing, I handed them a document that made my mother collapse into her chair. Before I continue, please like and subscribe, but only if this story resonates with you. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from right now? Now, let me take you back to December 15th, the day I found that receipt. I was sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open, spreadsheets glowing on the screen, working from home, or rather, working from my parents' home, the house I'd lived in my entire life, the basement specifically. But we'll get to that. Mom walked in without knocking. She never knocked. She placed a piece of paper next to my laptop and tapped it twice with her manicured nail. We're leaving for Aspen tomorrow. Here's what needs to be done while we're gone. I looked at the list. Water the orchids, feed Molly, pick up dry cleaning, shovel snow if there's a storm, accept any packages. What time should I be ready tomorrow? I asked. She looked at me like I'd spoken another language. Ready, Charlotte? Someone needs to stay and watch the house. She smoothed her blouse. You know Tyler can't miss this. He's bringing Emma to meet the family. Tyler, my 28-year-old brother, the one who got his college tuition paid in full, $180,000. The one who got a BMW for his 21st birthday. The one whose Manhattan apartment rent, $3,200 a month, showed up on our parents' credit card statement every single month. I didn't go to college. Mom said it wasn't practical for girls. Said I should learn something useful at home instead. So I learned to cook, to clean, to keep my mouth shut. Okay, I said, just like I always said. Mom nodded, already walking away. Oh, and the orchids need distilled water. Don't kill them like last time. She disappeared upstairs, and I sat there staring at that list. Something was different this time. I just didn't know what yet. That night, I sat on my bed in the basement. No windows, just concrete walls painted a cheerful yellow that fooled no one. Molly lay beside me, her golden fur warm against my leg. She was 12 now, gray around her muzzle, slower on the stairs. She'd been my birthday present. The one good thing I got when I turned 20. I still had the registration papers somewhere, my name on the line, Charlotte Ashford, owner. Molly wed softly and pressed her head against my hand. I know, girl, I whispered. I know. My laptop pinged. An email notification. I almost ignored it, but something made me click. It was a forwarded message. Mom had sent it to Dad and accidentally CC'd me. The subject line read, FWD, booking confirmation, Aspen Mountain Resort. I opened it. 4 guests, December 18th through the 28th, and attached the receipt. $45,000 ski passes, the presidential suite, spa packages, private ski lessons for Tyler. I read the number 3 times. Then I looked around my basement room, the secondhand mattress, the desk I'd found on the curb 6 years ago, the single lamp that flickered when the heat kicked on. I thought about Grandma, about the 5 years I spent taking care of her, feeding her, bathing her, sitting with her through the long nights when she couldn't sleep, all the way until the end. Mom had said, family doesn't pay family. But Tyler got $500 a week to help Dad with the yard work last summer. Molly nudged my hand again. I opened a new browser tab and typed 4 words, how to check credit report. Something had shifted inside me and there was no going back. The free credit report took 3 minutes to generate. It took me 20 minutes to stop shaking. 3 credit cards, all in my name, all opened without my knowledge. The first one appeared when I was 19 years old, the exact year Mom convinced me to stay home instead of applying to college. Total balance across all 3 cards, $67,000. I scrolled through the charges: furniture from Pottery Barn, first-class flights to Miami, shopping sprees at Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus, the billing address for all 3 cards, my parents' house, this house. But I'd never seen a single statement. My hands trembled as I kept scrolling. I thought about every job application that had been rejected, every apartment I'd tried to rent, the confused looks from landlords, the apologetic emails. Unfortunately, your credit score doesn't meet our requirements. I thought I was unlucky. I thought something was wrong with me. But it wasn't me at all. They'd taken my name, my social security number, my future, and they'd used it to furnish their living room and take tropical vacations. Molly pressed closer, sensing my distress. I buried my fingers in her fur and focused on breathing. In, out, in, out. The rage came slowly, not hot and explosive. Cold, quiet, the kind that settles into your bones and stays. For 13 years, I'd been trapped in this basement. Trapped by a credit score I didn't destroy. Trapped by parents who smiled at me over dinner while they buried me in debt I knew nothing about. I closed the credit report. I opened LinkedIn and I searched for a name I hadn't spoken in 8 years. Diane Okonkwo, my old college friend, the one who became a lawyer. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made a list. The accountant in me needed to see it all laid out in black and white. If I stay silent, 1, I live in this basement until my parents die, maybe longer. 2, my credit score never recovers. I never get my own apartment, my own car loan, my own anything. 3, when Mom and Dad get old, I'll be expected to take care of them just like I took care of Grandma. No salary, no breaks, no thank you. 4, Molly is 12. She won't live forever, and when she's gone, I'll have nothing left that's truly mine. I stared at that list until my eyes burned. Then I looked at my phone, at the LinkedIn connection request I'd sent to Diane at 2 a.m. The green dot next to her name appeared online. 3 dots. She was typing. My heart pounded. Her message appeared. Charlotte. Oh my God, it's been forever. I was just thinking about you last month. How are you? I typed back. I need legal advice. It's about my parents. Can we meet? The 3 dots again. A pause. Then tomorrow. Coffee. 10 a.m. I'll send you the address. And Charlotte, whatever it is, will figure it out. Molly lifted her head and looked at me. Her tail wagged once, twice, like she knew. 2 more weeks, girl, I whispered. That's how long they'll be gone. 2 weeks to figure out what comes next. She put her head back down on my lap. Outside my tiny basement window, the first snowflakes of December began to fall. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew I was done being invisible. The next morning was chaos. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and watched the performance. Designer luggage in the foyer, garment bags, ski equipment that cost more than I made in 3 months. Tyler bounced down the stairs, phone in hand. Aspen, baby, he was filming himself, didn't even look at me. His girlfriend, Emma, followed. She was new, 3 months, maybe 4, pretty quiet. She caught my eye and hesitated. Are you sure you can't come? Before I could answer, Mom swept between us. Charlotte loves staying home. Her voice was bright, cheerful, the voice she used for company. She's not really a ski person anyway. I've never been skiing, I said. Exactly. Mom adjusted her cashmere scarf. You wouldn't enjoy it. Dad appeared from his study. The car's here, let's go. No one hugged me. Goodbye. No one said they'd miss me. Mom just pointed at the counter where the list sat. Don't forget the dry cleaning and shovel if it snows. The Hendersons judge. The door opened. Cold air rushed in. They filed out one by one. Tyler still filming. Emma glancing back with something like guilt. Dad checking his watch. Mom paused at the threshold. Oh, and water the orchids twice. They're expensive. Then she was gone. The door clicked shut. The house fell silent. Just me and Molly. I stood there for a full minute staring at the closed door. The orchids sat on this windowsill, delicate and demanding, waiting for water I wasn't going to give them. My phone buzzed. Diane, see you at 10. The coffee shop on Main Street. I looked into what you mentioned. Charlotte, we really need to talk. I grabbed my coat and my car keys. The orchids could wait forever if necessary. Diane hadn't changed much. Same warm smile, same sharp eyes that missed nothing. She was already at a corner table when I arrived, 2 coffees waiting. She stood and hugged me tight. 8 years, she said. 8 years, and you look exactly the same. We sat. She slid my coffee toward me and then pulled out a folder. I ran a preliminary check after your message. Her voice dropped. Charlotte, what I found. She opened the folder. My credit report highlighted in yellow. This is identity theft. These cards were opened without your consent. She looked at me steadily. This is a federal crime. My throat tightened. But they're my parents. That doesn't make it legal. She explained my options. I could file a police report, press charges, sue for damages, but I shook my head. I don't want them in prison. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. I just want them to see me, to acknowledge what they've done. Diane studied me for a long moment. Then we do this differently. She pulled out a legal pad. You told me you took care of your grandmother for 5 years, full-time care, right? Did your mother ever put anything in writing about compensating you? I thought back. The endless nights, the bedpans, the medications, Mom promising it would all be worth it. There's an email, I said slowly. She said she'd make it up to me when Grandma got better. Grandma never got better. No, she didn't. Diane nodded, writing quickly. That email could be considered a verbal contract in writing. And Charlotte, she looked up. Have you ever heard of a mechanic's lien? I shook my head. Then let me explain how we're going to get you seen. 2 days later, I sat in a cramped office across from Marcus Smith. He was a CPA who specialized in family financial disputes. Diane's referral, gray-haired, glasses, the kind of man who'd seen everything and judged nothing. A stack of papers sat between us. Let's calculate what you're owed, he said, pen ready. We started with the housework. 20 years of cooking, cleaning, laundry, 15 hours a week, 52 weeks a year at $18 an hour, the average housekeeper rate. He wrote the number $280,800. Then Grandma, 5 years of full-time caregiving, 40 hours a week minimum, $20 an hour, another number $28,000. Now we subtract fair market value for room and board, he said. Even in a basement, he calculated, wrote a final figure. We deduct approximately $102,000. He circled the bottom line. Your total $386,800. I stared at the number. That can't be right. It's actually conservative. He adjusted his glasses. I didn't include overtime, holiday work, or the emotional labor of end-of-life care. Diane leaned forward. And that's before the $67,000 in credit card debt. Marcus flipped to another page. Speaking of which, I found something else. One of those cards is still active. What? Someone made a purchase 3 weeks ago, a spa treatment in Miami. I felt the floor tilt. They're still using it. Still using you? Marcus closed the folder. Charlotte, your parents didn't just exploit your past, they're exploiting your present. Diane touched my arm. We can stop this. We can make them see, but only if you're ready. I thought about the orchids dying on the windowsill. I thought about Molly waiting for me at home. I'm ready. That night I went hunting, not for evidence, for proof. I pulled out the cardboard box I kept under my bed, the one labeled Charlotte stuff in faded marker. Everything I owned that mattered fit inside it. First, I found Molly's papers, the registration certificate from the county, her name, my name, our address, owner Charlotte Ashford. I photographed it, saved it to the cloud, emailed a copy to Diane. Then I kept digging. Beneath old birthday cards and a dried core from prom, I found it. A printed email from 2019, the year Grandma's health took its final turn. Mom's words stared back at me. I know this is a lot to ask, but family takes care of family. When Mom gets better, we'll make it up to you. I promise we'll figure out something fair. Grandma died 14 months later. Nothing was ever figured out. Nothing was ever fair. I photographed that, too. Then I sat back on my bed and looked around the basement. 10 years I'd lived here. 10 years of hand-me-down furniture and borrowed dreams. The walls felt smaller than ever. I started packing. It wasn't hard. I didn't have much. Clothes, books, laptop, the box of important papers. Every day while they were gone, I moved a little more to the storage unit I'd rented across town. By day 5, the basement looked almost normal. By day 8, it was hollow. Molly watched me with wise old eyes. "Almost there, girl," I told her. "Almost free." My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "This place is insane. You'd hate it anyway. Too cold, LOL. He included a photo. The 4 of them on a ski lift, mountains behind them, matching white jackets. I didn't reply. Some messages don't deserve answers. Diane knew someone. Her college roommate had a rental property, a studio apartment above a bookstore downtown, small but clean, bright. She won't run a credit check. Diane said, "I vouched for you. I signed the lease on December 22nd, paid first and last month's rent from my savings, the small account I'd managed to build from my remote accounting work. The studio had 1 room, a tiny kitchen, and a bathroom the size of a closet. It also had 3 windows, actual windows with actual sunlight. I stood in the middle of my new empty apartment and cried. For the next 6 days, I lived 2 lives. At my parents' house, I kept up appearances, let the mail pile up, ignored the orchids. But I did not neglect Molly. Every morning she ate. Every evening she walked. She was mine. She'd always been mine. The dry cleaning stayed at the cleaners. The snow piled up unshoveled on the front walk. Let the Hendersons judge. On December 27th, Mom called from Aspen, Charlotte. "Mrs. Henderson said she hasn't seen you outside in days. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, Mom." I kept my voice neutral. "Just been busy with work. We'll make sure you clear the driveway before we get back. Your father hates when—" "Got it. Enjoy the rest of your trip." I hung up before she could say more. That night, I moved the last of my things. Just my toiletries, my pillow, and Molly's favorite blanket. I stood in the empty basement one final time. The yellow walls, the water stain on the ceiling, the room where I'd spent a decade waiting to be seen. "Goodbye," I whispered to no one. Then my phone buzzed. "Tyler, Mom's planning a New Year's brunch. 40 guests. She needs you to cater. You in?" I smiled. "I'll be there." "Okay, I need to pause here for a moment. If you've ever been the responsible one in your family, the one who always shows up, always helps, always sacrifices, and you felt invisible doing it, I see you. Quick question. What would you do if you discovered your parents had been using your identity for over a decade? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to see how this plays out at that New Year's brunch, keep watching. December 28th. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I watched from across the street as the black SUV pulled into the driveway. The doors opened. Tan faces, tired smiles, expensive ski gear. They were home. I walked up the front path, timing my arrival perfectly. Casual, coincidental, like I'd just stepped out for air. Mom spotted me first. "Charlotte, why are you standing outside? It's freezing. Just getting some fresh air." Tyler pushed past without a word, dragging his luggage upstairs. Dad nodded once and disappeared into his study. Same as always, same as ever. Mom walked inside and stopped. She stared at the orchids on the windowsill. Brown, wilted, definitely dead. "Charlotte!" Her voice sharpened. "What happened to my orchids? I didn't water them." She turned to face me. "And the dry cleaning. Please tell me you picked it up." I didn't. The silence stretched between us like a wire about to snap. "I asked you to do 3 things. 3 simple things. I was busy." Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Before she could unleash whatever was building behind her eyes, Dad's voice echoed from the study. "Linda, where's the AMX statement? I need to check something." She shot me a look that promised this wasn't over. "We'll talk about this later." She swept past me toward the study. I exhaled. Then I walked downstairs to the basement just to see. Empty, clean, no trace of me except the yellow walls and the faint smell of cleaning solution. Mom hadn't noticed. She hadn't even looked. Upstairs, Molly's nails clicked on the hardwood floor. She found me at the basement door and pressed her head against my leg. 2 days, I thought. 2 more days until the brunch. Then they would finally see December 30th. Mom called me into the living room like a general summoning a soldier. She held a clipboard. 2 pages, her handwriting in perfect cursive. New Year's brunch. 40 guests. Here's the menu. I took the pages. Eggs Benedict, smoked salmon on bio, 3 types of quiche, fresh fruit displays, mimosa bar, homemade pastries. You want me to cater for 40 people? I kept my voice even by myself. What else do you have to do? She didn't even look up. You work from home. From the study, Dad's voice carried. Your mother and I are hosting important people. Colleagues, the Hendersons, the Morgans. This needs to be perfect, Charlotte. I thought this was a family brunch. Mom smiled, the patient smile she used when explaining something obvious to a child. It is family and your family. Family helps. Footsteps on the stairs. Tyler appeared, phone in hand. Hey, Mom. Can Charlotte make those little quiche things? Emma loves those. Mom brightened. Of course, sweetie. She turned to me. Add mini quiches to the list. The spinach ones. And maybe those bacon wrap dates. Tyler was already walking away. Those were good last time. Charlotte, write that down. I stood there holding the clipboard. 2 pages of demands, 40 people to feed, a kitchen to run single-handedly. What time do you need everything ready? Guests arrive at 10 o'clock, so you should start prep around 5 a.m. Mom checked her phone. I have a hair appointment at 8, so I won't be able to help. You understand? I understood perfectly. I'll be here, I said. She patted my shoulder like I was an obedient dog. I knew I could count on you. She walked away and I smiled at her back. 40 guests. Perfect. I wanted witnesses. New Year's Eve, 11 o'clock at night. I stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by grocery bags I had no intention of unpacking. Eggs, salmon, champagne. Mom had spared no expense on ingredients I wouldn't be cooking. The kitchen door swung open. Emma walked in hesitant. Charlotte, can I help with anything? She was trying. I could see that. 3 months with Tyler and she still hadn't figured out the rules. Before I could answer, Mom appeared behind her. Emma, sweetie, you're a guest. The warmth in her voice was almost convincing. Don't worry about the kitchen. Charlotte has it all under control. She put her arm around Emma's shoulders and guided her away, but not before turning to look at me. Oh, and Charlotte, wear something appropriate tomorrow. Her eyes swept over my sweater. That's fine for down here, but we have company coming. Dad passed through, heading for the liquor cabinet. Food ready by 10 o'clock. The Hendersons are always punctual. Will Aunt Patricia be there? I asked. Mom's expression flickered. Just for a moment. Yes, unfortunately. She examined a champagne bottle. Just ignore whatever she says. You know how she is. How she is dramatic. Always stirring up trouble. I thought about Aunt Patricia, Dad's sister, the one who'd always looked at me with worried eyes at family gatherings. The only one who'd ever asked, Are you okay, honey? You seem tired. I'll keep that in mind, I said. Mom nodded, satisfied, and swept out with Emma in tow. I looked at the clock. 12 more hours. The manila envelope was already in my car, the paperwork signed, the lien filed. All that remained was the delivery. I turned off the kitchen light and went to spend one last night in my new apartment. Molly was waiting. January 1st, 8 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't there when Mom came downstairs expecting to find me at the stove, but I heard about it later from Aunt Patricia. Mom walked into the kitchen, empty, cold, no food prep, no Charlotte. She called my name, then called it louder, then screamed it. She ran to the basement, threw open the door. Nothing. No bed, no desk, no clothes, just bare walls and the echo of her own voice. Molly was gone too. Mom's panic was immediate. She called Dad, called Tyler, called my phone 16 times. I didn't answer. By 9:30, Mom had ordered emergency catering from the most expensive restaurant in town, triple the price for holiday rates. She was setting out store-bought pastries when the doorbell rang. Aunt Patricia an hour early. I thought I'd help set up. She told me later what she saw. Linda's hands shaking, Richard pacing by the window, Tyler asking, Should we cancel? We're not canceling anything, Mom hissed. I've spent weeks planning this. Charlotte is just being dramatic. She'll show up. Guests began arriving at 10 o'clock. The Hendersons, the Morgans, colleagues, old friends, 40 people filling the living room with small talk and champagne. Someone asked about me. Where's Charlotte? I've heard so much about her." Mom's smile didn't waver. "She's not feeling well, resting upstairs." It was 10:45 when the doorbell rang again. Dad frowned. "We're not expecting anyone else." He opened the door. I stood on the porch, not in an apron, not in the kitchen, not invisible. I wore a black blazer, pressed slacks, my hair pulled back in my hands, a manila envelope, and beside me, tail wagging, was Molly. "Hello, Dad." My voice was steady. "I'm here for the brunch." The room went quiet. 40 pairs of eyes turned toward the door, toward me. Mom recovered first. She always did. She crossed the room with her hostess smile firmly in place. "Charlotte, sweetie?" Her voice carried for the audience. "We were so worried. Are you feeling better?" She reached for my arm. I stepped back. "I'm fine, Mom. Never been better, actually." Dad closed the door behind me, his face tight. "Where have you been and why did you take the dog?" "Molly is my dog." I kept my voice calm, factual. "Her registration has always been in my name." "Charlotte, this isn't the time," Mom started. "Actually," I said, "this is the perfect time." I felt the room's attention sharpen. Mrs. Henderson leaned in. Mr. Morgan sat down his champagne glass. In the corner, I spotted Aunt Patricia. She stood near the fireplace watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Not worried, not confused, hopeful. "I have something for you," I said. "Both of you." I held up the manila envelope. Dad's jaw tightened. "Whatever this is, we can discuss it privately. I've been private for 32 years. I met his eyes. "I think it's time for some transparency." Tyler rose from his seat by the window. "Sis, what are you doing? You're embarrassing Mom and Dad." I turned to him. My brother, the golden child, the one who'd never had to fight for scraps of attention. "I'm not here to embarrass anyone, Tyler." I opened the envelope's clasp. "I'm here to be seen." Mom's smile was cracking. Dad's hands were clenched at his sides. The room held its breath, and I pulled out the papers that would change everything. I handed the papers to Mom. Her hands were steady when she took them. They weren't steady for long. She scanned the first page. The color drained from her face. "What is this?" "It's an invoice." I clasped my hands in front of me. For 20 years of unpaid domestic labor, housekeeping, cooking, cleaning, caregiving for Grandma, all calculated at fair market rates. Dad snatched the papers from her. His eyes darted across the numbers. "This is ridiculous. $387,000. I rounded down, actually." Whispers rippled through the room. I heard fragments. Did she say unpaid? How much for cooking and cleaning? Mom's voice turned shrill. "We're your parents. We gave you a home. You gave me a basement." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. No windows for 10 years. Dad was still reading. "This is absurd. We'll never pay." "Turn to page 3. His face shifted. Whatever he saw there made him go pale. "You put a lien on our house?" The whispers became murmurs. Someone gasped. "A mechanic's lien." I confirmed, "For services rendered. I have documentation, including an email from you, Mom, promising to compensate me for taking care of Grandma." Mom clutched the arm of a chair. I didn't mean you never do." I nodded toward the papers. Page 4. Dad turned the page. Mom read over his shoulder, and then she sat down hard. "That's my credit report," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, showing 3 credit cards opened in my name without my consent. $67,000 in debt I knew nothing about. The room went dead silent. "Identity theft," I said. "A federal crime." Dad opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. For the first time in my life, he had nothing to say. "Okay, this is the moment." Charlotte is standing in front of 40 people about to see the consequences of her 20-year silence finally hit her parents. If you're on the edge of your seat right now, hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And I'm curious, do you think what Charlotte's about to hear is the apology she deserves? Or will her parents double down? Let me know in the comments. Now back to the brunch. The silence broke when Aunt Patricia stepped forward. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor. Every head turned to follow her. Charlotte is telling the truth. Mom's head snapped up. "Patricia, stay out of this." I've stayed out of it for 20 years. Patricia's voice didn't waver. I watched you treat this girl like a servant, Linda. I watched you fund Tyler's entire life while Charlotte couldn't even go to community college. Dad stepped toward his sister. This is not your concern. It is my concern. Patricia crossed her arms. Because I'm the one who paid for Charlotte's accounting certification 3 years ago behind your backs. I stared at her. You never told me. I wanted to. Her eyes softened when she looked at me, but Linda said if I interfered again, she'd cut me off from the family. The murmurs grew louder. I saw phones being pulled from pockets. Mrs. Henderson was already edging toward the door, clutching her purse. Mom tried to salvage the room. Everyone, please. This is a family matter. Mr. Morgan stood up. Richard, I think we should go. This seems personal. One by one, guests began leaving. Quiet apologies, embarrassed nods. No one wanted to stay for the aftermath. Emma rose from her seat near Tyler. She walked toward me, not toward him. I'm so sorry, she said quietly. I had no idea. Then she walked out the door. Tyler called after her. Emma, wait. She didn't look back. Within 15 minutes, the room was nearly empty. Just family now. Mom still sitting in her chair. Dad still clutching the papers. Tyler staring at his phone. Aunt Patricia standing beside me. And Molly pressed against my leg, her tail no longer wagging. The reckoning had begun. The front door closed behind the last guest. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom finally spoke. Her voice cracked. How could you do this to us in front of everyone? I looked at her. Really? Looked at the mascara starting to run at the careful facade crumbling. How could you do this to me for 20 years? Dad threw the papers onto the coffee table. We raised you. We gave you a roof over your head, food, clothing, everything. A roof over the basement, hand-me-downs from cousins, and I cooked most of that food myself. I didn't blink. While you were using my Social Security number to fund your lifestyle. That was for emergencies, Mom started. Spa treatments in Miami. I cut her off. That was 3 weeks ago while you were in Aspen. She flinched. Tyler finally looked up from his phone. I didn't know about the credit cards. I swear, I believe you. I turned to him. But you knew about everything else. You knew I stayed home while you went to college. You knew I took care of Grandma while you visited once a month. You knew I was living in a basement while you had a 2-bedroom in Manhattan. He dropped his eyes. No denial, no defense. I picked up Molly's leash from where I'd set it by the door. I'm not asking for the money, I said. I never expected you to actually pay $400,000. Mom looked up with a glimmer of hope. But I'm asking for acknowledgement for you to see me, to see what you've done. I clicked the leash onto Molly's collar, and even if you never do, I'm done waiting. I turned toward the door. Charlotte. Dad's voice was ing. Mom stood up, unsteady. Home? What do you mean, home? This is your home. I almost laughed. Almost. This was never my home. This was where I worked for free for 20 years. I opened the front door. Cold January air rushed in. Wait, Mom's voice pitched higher. You can't just leave. What about the lien? You can't expect us to actually... The lien stays. I kept my hand on the door knob until the credit card debt is paid off. $67,000. You have 90 days, Dad stepped forward. And if we refuse, then the lien remains on your property. You won't be able to sell, won't be able to refinance. I shrugged. That's how liens work. I'm sure you know that, Dad. You worked at a bank for 30 years. His face reened. This is extortion. This is accountability. I met his glare without flinching. Something you've avoided your entire life. Aunt Patricia moved to stand beside me. I'll walk you out, honey. Patricia, if you leave with her... Mom's voice held a warning. You'll what, Linda? Patricia's smile was tired but real. Cut me off. I think I'll survive. We stepped outside together. Molly trotted between us, tail wagging again. Behind us, I heard Tyler's voice. What are we going to do? And Mom's response, harsh and brittle. We'll fix this. We always fix things. But she couldn't fix this. Not the debt, not the witnesses, not the years of silence finally broken. At my car, Patricia hugged me. I'm proud of you. I should have said something years ago. You're saying it now. I hugged her back. That's what matters. I loaded Molly into the back seat, started the engine, and drove toward my apartment with windows toward the rest of my life. 1 week later, I sat in my studio apartment, sunlight streaming through all 3 windows. Molly lay in her favorite spot, the patch of carpet where the afternoon light pulled warmest. My phone buzzed. "Diane, have you seen the neighborhood Facebook group?" I hadn't. I'd been avoiding social media, but curiosity won. Someone had posted about the incident at the Ashford house. No names, but everyone knew. I scrolled through the comments. I always thought something was off about that family. Poor girl, she was always so quiet whenever I saw her. I heard the parents opened credit cards in her name. That's illegal. No wonder she never moved out. They trapped her. I closed the app. There was no satisfaction in it, just a hollow ache. Another notification, a number I didn't recognize. "Charlotte, this is Emma. I broke up with Tyler." I stared at the screen. "He tried to defend your parents, said you were being dramatic, that you'd always been jealous. I couldn't be with someone who thinks that way." A pause. 3 dots. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. If you ever need a friend, I'm here." I read the message twice. 3 times. I didn't reply. Not yet. But I saved her number. Molly lifted her head, looked at me, and sighed contentedly. "I know, girl," I murmured. "We're okay." My phone buzzed again, this time an email from Richard Ashford. Subject, "We need to talk." I didn't open it. Not today. Instead, I made myself a cup of tea, sat by the window, and watched the winter sun sink behind the buildings. I hadn't destroyed them. That was never the point. I just wanted to be free. And for the first time, I was. I agreed to meet Dad a week later. Neutral ground, a coffee shop downtown. Diane's advice, public space, keep it short. Don't give anything away. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, looking older than I remembered. Charlotte. He half rose, then sat back down when I didn't move to hug him. I slid into the opposite seat. "You wanted to talk? Your mother is devastated." I waited. She hasn't slept. Won't eat. The neighbors keep asking questions. Is she devastated about what happened or about what people think? He didn't answer. That was answer enough. "We'll pay off the credit cards." He finally said, "Your mother's already arranging the transfer." "Good, but the lien." He leaned forward. "That goes too far, Charlotte. We're your parents. Parents who used my social security number when I was 19. Parents who let me believe I was worthless for a decade." I kept my voice level. "Parents who took a $45,000 vacation and left me a chore list." He flinched. "We thought you were happy. You never complained because every time I tried, you made me feel guilty." I quoted his own words back to him. "After everything we've done for you, what exactly did you do for me?" He stared at his coffee, silent. I stood up. "The lien stays until the debt is cleared. After that, I'll have it removed." "Wait," his voice cracked. "Your mother wants to see you." I paused. "I know," I said, "but I'm not ready." Maybe I never will be. I walked out, didn't look back. The January wind was cold on my face, but the sun was bright, and for the first time in 32 years, I could breathe. 2 months passed. The notification arrived on a Tuesday, a deposit into my bank account, $67,000. I called Diane. They paid it. "All of it? All of it?" She was quiet for a moment. "How do you feel?" I looked out the window. Sun on snow, Molly snoring on her bed. Relieved, sad, both. The consequences rippled outward. I heard about them from Aunt Patricia during our weekly dinners. Mom had resigned from her social club for health reasons. Dad stopped attending the community board meetings he'd chaired for a decade. Tyler lost his job. Unrelated, just bad timing, but he blamed me anyway. In a text I didn't respond to, the lien was removed. Clean, official, done. My credit score started its slow climb upward. Diane said it would take a year, maybe more, but it was moving. For the first time in 13 years, it was moving in the right direction. I got a raise at work, a small one, but it felt like a vindication. Aunt Patricia brought me a plant for my windowsill, a jade succulent. "These are impossible to kill," she said. Even for people with black thumbs. We laughed. It felt good to laugh. One evening, my phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk sometime?" I stared at the message at the tiny crack in the wall he'd spent years building. I typed back, "Not yet, but maybe someday when you're ready to actually listen." He responded with a single word. "Okay, progress. Microscopic maybe, but real." Molly lifted her head and looked at me with those wise old eyes. "We're getting there, girl," I told her. She wagged her tail once. We were getting there 6 months after the brunch. I'd upgraded to a larger apartment, same building, same landlord, who believed in me before my credit score did. This one had a balcony. Molly and I sat there on summer evenings watching the sun set behind the city skyline. She was slower now, more gray around her muzzle, but content. The letters from Mom kept coming. 1 a week, sometimes 2. I read them all. "I don't understand why you're doing this. We miss you so much. When are you coming home? Why won't you answer us?" Not once, not in 6 months of letters, not a single "I'm sorry," not a single acknowledgement that she'd done anything wrong. I folded each letter, stored them in a box I kept in my closet, evidence maybe, or just proof that I wasn't imagining things. Aunt Patricia visited every weekend. We cooked dinner together. She told me stories about my mother as a young woman before the bitterness set in. "Your grandmother compared us constantly." Patricia told me once, "Linda was never thin enough, never smart enough, never good enough. That doesn't excuse what she did, no." Patricia's eyes were sad. It doesn't, but it explains it. I thought about that a lot, about how hurt people, about how my mother's wounds became my wounds. I understood now, but understanding isn't forgiveness, and forgiveness isn't a requirement for healing. Molly pressed her head against my knee. "I know, girl." I scratched behind her ears. "I know. Some nights I still dreamed about the basement, the yellow walls, the water stain on the ceiling, the feeling of being trapped. Then I woke up to sunlight, to windows, to a life that was finally fully mine." The knock came on a Sunday afternoon. I opened the door expecting a package. Instead, I found Tyler. He looked different, thinner, tired, a beard he hadn't had 6 months ago. "I didn't know where you lived," he said. "Patricia gave me the address. I hope that's okay." I stepped aside. "Come in." He walked past me, taking in the apartment, the sunlight, the plants on the windowsill. Molly lifted her head, tail wagging, and he crouched to pet her. "This is nice," he said. "Really nice. It's mine." He nodded, straightened, shoved his hands in his pockets. The words came out rough. "My whole life, I didn't see it because it was easier not to see it. I know. Mom and Dad want me to convince you to come back, to make peace." I waited. I told them no. He met my eyes. I told them they need to apologize first. Really apologize. Not their version of it. The real thing. Something loosened in my chest. Something I hadn't realized I'd been holding. "Thank you, Tyler. That means something." He moved toward the door, paused. "I'm trying to be better. It's hard." "I know." I offered him a small smile. "But you're trying. That's more than they ever did." He left. I watched him walk down the hallway. My brother, a stranger I was maybe slowly getting to know. I closed the door. Molly trotted over and pressed herself against my legs. I knelt down and wrapped my arms around her, felt her warmth, her heartbeat. 12 years of unconditional love. "We made it, girl," I whispered. "We're finally home." Outside my window, the summer sun poured in. I didn't burn bridges. I just stopped building them for people who never met me halfway. If you've made it this far, thank you truly. Here are a few things I learned from my experience. 1, your labor has value. Don't let anyone, not even family, make you feel guilty for expecting recognition. 2, setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. 3, sometimes the quietest person in the room has been carrying the heaviest secrets. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to set a boundary with family? How did it go? Drop a comment below, subscribe, and check out the video in the description for another story about family, boundaries, and unexpected turns. Until next time, Take care of yourself because you deserve